Hi, this is Bill for Sparky Channel, and I'd like to answer a question from a recent video about GFCI protection in garages. The question is, so my 240 volt 50 amp NEMA 6-50 receptacle for my welder and kiln has to be GFCI protected? Let's break this down so everyone understands. NEMA is the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. A 6 after NEMA represents a rating of 250 volts AC. The 50 represents 50 amps. The R after the 50 stands for receptacle. If it was a P, it would be a plug. So the viewer is asking about a receptacle like this. This is your ground on this NEMA 6-50R receptacle. This slot and this slot are for your hots. So this is hot, it's 120 volts, it's 120 volts, and this is a ground. So from this slot to the ground is 120 volts. This is called a leg. So one leg of this 240 volt system is 120 volts. This is the other leg, hot ground. And from hot to ground is 120 volts. So this is also a leg. And then altogether, this is 240 volts. Here's a picture of a 50 amp, 2-pole, 240 volt GFCI circuit breaker that would serve the receptacle that I just showed you in case it is needed for a garage receptacle. So let's go to the code and find out if this is needed. Here we are at Article 210.8, Ground Fault Circuit Interrupter Protection for Personnel. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection for personnel shall be provided as required in 210.8A through F. The ground fault circuit interrupter shall be installed in a readily accessible location. So here we are at NEC 210.8A, and see the shaded areas are revisions. So this is what really pertains to the 250 volt receptacles, and it's really revised quite a bit for 2020. So A, dwelling units, all 125 volt through 250 volt receptacles installed in the location specified in 210.8A1 through A11 and supplied by single phase branch circuits rated 150 volts or less to ground shall have ground fault circuit interrupter protection for personnel. And then down here you see garages. So this means that if you have a 250 volt receptacle, it needs to be protected by GFCI. And this revision right here may cause a bit of confusion, but see, each leg of that 240 volt or 250 volt receptacle is 120 volts to ground. So I know that some people want to read this and say, okay, it's 240 volts. It's not 150 volts or less, so I don't need to protect, my 240 volt receptacle with GFCI. But that's not what they're saying. It says all 125 volt through 250 volt receptacles installed in the location specified, and this is garages is specified, and supplied by single phase branch circuits rated 150 volts or less to ground shall have ground fault circuit interrupter protection for personnel. It shall have ground fault circuit interrupter protection for personnel. And the best way to handle this is to put in a GFCI breaker that is rated to protect the 250 volt receptacle that you're installing. Therefore, you would need to use a 50 amp breaker for a 50 amp receptacle. And furthermore, you need to use the correct receptacle for the plug that you're going to be plugging into the receptacle. I know the temptation when getting a question like this from a viewer is to just say yes or no, but I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think the right way to do it is go to the code, show it, read it, discuss it, and I tell my interpretation. Now, other viewers may have other interpretations, and the comments in the comment sections of these code videos have been fantastic. People have really been considering the codes and what they mean, and I think that's a great thing. So I'm not saying my interpretations are always correct, but I am showing the actual code so everyone can read it and decide things for themselves. I'll put links in my video description for various code books, and you'll find links for a playlist of this whole series of videos, which is 8 videos now. It's amazing. There's 8 videos in the series, 7 of them from viewers' questions. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your watching Sparky channel, and have a great day.